Okay, today we are looking at lesson 5-6 on page 134, 135. And we're looking at how we can get our fractions in simplest form. So how do you write fractions in simplest form? 36 out of the 48 sixth graders at Lincoln Middle School are going on a field trip to the Museum of Art. Write a fraction, or write the fraction 36 over 48 in simplest form. So here's my fraction, here's my 36 that are going, and my 48 total students, or sixth graders. And we want it to be written in simplest form. So a fraction is in simplest form if the only common factor of the numerator and the denominator is 1. So basically, when the numerator and the denominator cannot be divided by anything else other than 1. Alright, let's look at an example. Okay, so here's one way on the page 135. We can take 36 over 48, and we know that both are even numbers, right? We have a 6 in the ones place and an 8 in the ones place. So we know that both of these numbers can be divided by 2. 2 over 2. Now remember, any number over itself equals 1. So we're not changing the value of 36 over 48. We are simplifying it. So if you take 36 and you divide it by 2, you'll get 18. And if you take 48 and divide it by 2, then you'll get 24. Okay, so 36 over 48 is an equivalent fraction to 18 over 24. But we're still not in simplest form, even though we have divided by 2. So think of another number that 18 and 24 are both divisible by, and they give you 6. So then again, we're going to divide 18 by 6, and notice it's 6 over 6 again, dividing really by 1, but so we're going to take 18 divided by 6, and you'll get 3, and 24 divided by 6, and you'll get 4. Now 3/4 is the simplest form. I cannot divide 3 and 4 by any number that's the same other than 1. So this is one way. We can just think of different factors that the numbers are both divisible by, like 2 or 6 here. Okay, so let's look at another way here. You can do it in one fell swoop, or just by dividing one time if you divide the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. So you'd have to know what the greatest common factor is. And they show over here, how they can find the greatest common factor. If you did a factor tree for both 36 and 48 and then compared their prime factors, so 36 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, and 48 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, you would be able to use only the numbers. Remember that they both use the same amount of time. So the most 2's that you can use are 2, because that's as many as 36 has, so that's why they have 2 down here in the greatest common factor. And although 36 has 2 3's, 48 only has 1, so we can only use 1. So the greatest common factor of both 36 and 48 is 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12. Now, so you can go ahead and just divide 36 and 48 both by 12, right? So 36 divided by 12 is 3, and 48 divided by 12 is 4, and you get 3/4 again. Or if you look back at the first way I talked about, first you divided by 2, and then you divided by 6 in the example. And what's 2 times 6? Well, there's your greatest common factor. So if you were trying to find the greatest common factor, you could just multiply the numbers you divided into the fraction. Alright, let's look at the guided practice. Okay, so I'm looking at the guided practice on page 134, and I'm going to do number 1 and 2 with you, so make sure you're taking notes, and then I want you guys to go ahead and do 3, 4, 5, and 6. So pause me and go ahead and try and do number 1 and 2. It says, find the greatest common factor of a numerator and denominator, and then use it to write each fraction in simplest forms. Okay, pause it and see if you can do it, and then come back and see what I do. So number 1, we have 18 over 24. I'm going to go ahead and start by dividing by 2 over 2. because I know both of these numbers are divisible by 2. And if I do that, I would get 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. Now, I'm not at the simplest form, because I know 9 and 12 are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and then divide them both by 3 over 3, and then I will get 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. So simplest form for 18/24 is 3/4. Now if I'm trying to find that greatest common factor, remember, all I have to do is remember, what did I divide by? Well, I divided by 2, and I divided by 3. Multiply those together. My greatest common factor of these two numbers then would be 6. Let's look at number 2. All right, hopefully, pause me again, or hopefully you've already done that. And I'm going to look at 12 over 36. Now, you may want to divide this by 2. You may want to divide this by 3. I'm going to divide it by 12 because I know 12 can go into 36 because I know my 12s, 12, 24, 36, 48, so on. So I'm going to divide by 1, which is 12 twelfths, 12 over 12, right? I'm going to divide the numerator by 12 and get 1, and the denominator 36 by 12 and get 3. So 12 over 36 is equal to 1/3, and if I want it in its simplest form, which we always do for fractional answers, I'm going to write it as 1/3. So your homework is to go ahead and do numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 and bring them to class tomorrow, and don't forget to bring a question. See you tomorrow.